Hi everyone, my name is Tara Schmallenberg. I am the president-elect for the Saskatchewan Association of Nurse Practitioners. I'm feeling a lot like an influencer here, just wanting to pop on and chat with you all. Last year from our membership survey, we heard from a lot of people that you guys are wanting more contact with the executive and find out what it is that we are doing all year, that for better value for your guys' membership, you want to hear from us a little bit more regularly and find out what we're up to. So our plan is to try and do a Facebook Live to touch base with everybody after our monthly executive meeting, and hope that with that, we can connect with you all a little bit better. After our AGM at the conference, we were really happy to welcome some new people to the board. They bring a lot of fresh energy and ideas to the group, and so those of us that have been on the executive for a couple of years, we're really excited to have them with us, and I think it's going to lead to a lot of really good things for nurse practitioner practice. All of us on a daily basis at work, in our personal lives, we're all being faced with the realities of COVID. And we heard from a lot of people on our executive and a lot of people or NPs from across the province who maybe aren't on the executive or even members necessarily, but just being worried. We know that primary health care is, of one of the services that's getting redeployed. A lot of people are worried about, how, not only the fact that, our home care nurses and our primary care nurses that we work with are potentially getting redeployed to help out in other areas, but just also that nurse practitioners too can be redeployed from primary care. And it's not that people aren't wanting to help out, because we're all, all part of the team and everyone wants to help, but just what we heard from everybody is what happens to my patients if I get pulled to another area. So we sat down with Tracy Zambori from SUN, Jenna Lee, who is this year's president, and myself, and we expressed these concerns to her, as well as, as the fact that we know that nurse practitioners and nurses, for that matter of fact, are contracting COVID at work, and those are our big concerns that we wanted to bring forward with them. SUN has done a lot of work in pushing for appropriate PPE for people on the job, nursing and non, and we just still feel like that there's some places where that can use some improvement. Some areas of work don't have the access to the PPE that they should be, and we wanted to highlight the concerns about what happens to primary care if we're redeploying all of these staff. Due to the agreement that SUN and 4 other of the main healthcare unions signed with SHA and SAHO at the beginning of the pandemic, which Jenna Lee will post the link to that if you guys aren't familiar with that document, nurse practitioners can get redeployed, and that was part of the agreement that they signed back in April. We did express, though, our concerns that, if this happens, a lot of us work in clinics, where we're the only provider, and service a lot of at-risk patients, and if we go, who looks after our patients? What if their conditions exacerbate? Then they're going to be putting more pressure on the acute care system because of that. So we expressed those concerns to them, and the feedback from Tracy was that at this time, while we're seeing the record high COVID numbers, we can't change that right now. We've definitely put it on SUN's radar to be able to advocate for that in the future, to try and protect our primary care services, so that we can still keep providing those services, because a lot of us, we know from our practice, we see a lot of acute things, and can, in the work we do in primary care prevents a lot of things from ending up in emerge. So we were able to, to really remind them of the work that we're doing in primary care, and they've said in the future, they want to keep open lines of communication with us, and do what they can to, to promote primary care and promote NP practice. So we were happy with that. We also expressed concerns that nurse practitioners and nurses are still, contracting COVID at work. And SUN, has reiterated that if this is happening, if you don't have access to proper PPE at work, and if you believe you have contracted COVID from your work, be in contact with them, even if you're not a SUN member. Reach out to them, and as well, anybody who thinks they've contracted COVID from work has grounds for a workers' comp claim. If anybody hasn't got that information from SUN and wants us to reshare it with you, then just reach out through the chat, and we'll try and share that info with you guys afterwards, because I know sometimes the amount of emails we get are a little bit overwhelming, and it might not, it might have been missed if you need any of that information. So yeah, we were really happy to be able to touch base with Tracy and some of the team at SUN, and feel like that's been a really positive thing for us going forward as an association. Then last week we had our first official executive meeting of the year with our new executive. Welcomed our new people on board, and are kind of setting out what's going to be our work for the upcoming year. And there's a lot of things coming down the pipe. Some of you may have watched the SRNA conference sessions where they outline their plans as to how they're transitioning forward to a single mandate organization. This is something that the SANP is very interested in, and we want to be able to connect with you guys and hear from our nurse practitioners across the province about what it is that you guys want going forward. Cindy Smith, the executive director of the SRNA, did present at at our SANP conference, and provided kind of a brief recap of everything that had gone on. Those SRNA conference sessions are posted on the SRNA's YouTube, if anybody does want to go back and watch them and get a little bit of the context. But in the new year, we're planning on hosting some Zoom sessions, so that everybody can connect, and so we can hear from people what it is you want to see as the future of nursing and nurse practitioner association work in Saskatchewan. Do we want to join forces with a larger, broader association that would be encompassing of all nurse practitioner designations? Should the SANP amend their bylaws and become the new association for all nurses in Saskatchewan? Do we want to continue as a nurse practitioner only association? This is some really big decisions, and everyone on the executive feels really strongly that we need to hear from our nurse practitioners and find out what people are wanting as far as this goes. The other thing we talked about at our executive meeting is just a reminder that the SUN resolution deadline is coming up early in the new year. The nurse practitioner group, the executive, we've got a few resolutions that we're wanting to put forward on on behalf of the SANP. We feel really strongly that there should be an NP on the SUN bargaining committee when the next contract negotiations come about, and so some of the executive are working on putting together that resolution. Also, some of our nurse practitioners that have worked in the north have identified that it's a really big barrier to recruit nurses to northern positions because we're not, through the SUN positions, they're not allowed to advertise, additional incentives like housing or different things. So some of our NPs with a little bit of experience in that area are putting together some work in that department. And another group of us are putting together a resolution wanting to make it where for those of us working in primary care and doing SGI medicals and other non-insured services, that we have access to the funds that we're generating. So we hear from some NPs that it goes into an education fund and they readily have access to it, and other NPs it seems to go out into the abyss and they have there is no access to that, and feeling a bit of an inequity from our physician colleagues in that sense. So that's some of the things that we are working on behalf of our membership. If you have any ideas for things that you would like to see put forward as a resolution, but don't quite know how to do it, we'll be posting some info on our website on our Facebook rather, about how to word a resolution. And if you need any help with one, reach out and somebody from the executive would gladly help you kind of fine tune things a little bit there. Lastly, or I guess then we're setting putting together, doing our planning meeting. Normally this is our first meeting after the conference, but just with December usually being busy and everybody being tied up with COVID, we just had a regular executive meeting this month, and we're planning in February to host our strategic planning meeting. We've purposely pushed it off a little bit into the year because we want the opportunity to connect with everybody in January to sort of hear about, you know, what everyone's wanting as far as what do we want association work to look like going forward. And so we want that opportunity to hear from you because we really feel like that's going to inform our strategic plans for the next few years as far as what this association looks like. Lastly, we are really sad to announce the passing of Joyce Bruce, who was the recipient of the SANP Leadership Award this year. Joyce passed away on December 3rd with her family beside her, and I know, you know, personally this is, you know, such a sad loss. Joyce was very supportive to me through my nurse practitioner education, and in seeing the comments that came through during the awards presentation at our AGM, it was just so amazing to see how many people Joyce has touched throughout her very impressive nursing career. Joyce is a very private person, so at this time, that's all the details that we have to release. But we just thought that everybody would want to be made aware because it was, you know, so very apparent during the awards presentation how many people Joyce has touched. We hope that all of you guys are doing well and staying safe, and if there's anything that anyone from the executive can help with, please feel free to reach out. We love hearing from you guys. We want to be able to make sure that you are feeling, you know, like you're getting a good bang for your buck, and that, you know, the work we're doing is of value to you guys. We hope that everyone has a good rest of your day.